All right, bear with me, y'all. I don't know what's up with that. Sorry about that, y'all. For some reason, my security seems to come on sometimes. Let me try this
The
again.
14th Amendment to the US Constitution is directly a product of the Civil War.
Okay, I'm back, y'all. Thanks for your patience. I'm so sorry about that. I actually am still learning this program, some of the nuances of it and the fine parts of it, especially with regarding the how much it can take, how much power it can. And apparently what I was about to play was too long, so I had to cut it down. But I appreciate those of y'all that stayed with me, and I'm going to go back in on it now. The good thing about it is that YouTube now, they actually pause, when I end today in an hour or so, you won't even know that the pause is there. It cuts it automatically. But again, thank the folks for staying out, and we'll see how this goes. Now, check this out. What I was getting at was very simple. Yes, the 14th Amendment. And to a lot of people, if you never read the 14th Amendment, if you never read it, you might not recognize what a big deal it is. You may not realize what's going on when somebody challenges something in that 14th Amendment, because the 14th Amendment is a direct consequence of the Civil War. Before the Civil War, things were different. The 14th Amendment is a product of the Union winning that war and implementing new laws to make sure that the Confederacy would not be able to commit the crimes that it had been committing against people. You wouldn't be able to keep slaves. You wouldn't be able to deny folks equal citizenry. That's what it's all about. But let me give people some background, because the detail matters. The detail really matters if you really want to know the moment in history you're in. You know, and to be honest with you, you're not going to get high and make this moment disappear. You're not going to get jiggy and make this moment disappear. You're not going to go and have a beer after work. You're not going to have a cocktail and make it disappear. You could do all those things. But this thing, none of those things will make this disappear. And this thing is real. It's coming for you if you don't actually know what it is. So let me get back into this. This should play fine now.
The 14th Amendment was a direct consequence of the Civil War, both legally and politically. It was created specifically to address the problems that emerged during Reconstruction after the Union's victory over the Confederacy in 1865. Here's how the connection is direct and undeniable. 1. It was meant to protect freed slaves. After the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in 1865, Southern states quickly passed black codes to restrict the freedom of newly freed African Americans. The 14th Amendment was drafted to stop Southern states from denying former slaves basic rights, such as owning property, voting, working, and accessing the courts. 2.
And isn't that what they're doing right now? Trying to limit voting, trying to hinder voting.
It overturned the Dred Scott decision. In 1857, the Dred Scott v. Sanford ruling said that African Americans, even if free, could not be U.S. citizens. The 14th Amendment explicitly reversed this, granting citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the U.S., directly addressing the legal fallout from slavery and the war. 3. It targeted Confederate states. Sections of the amendment directly punished former Confederate leaders, barred them from holding office, and refused to honor Confederate debts. These were meant to restructure Southern society and ensure loyalty to the Union. 4. It shifted power to the federal government. The Civil War revealed that states couldn't be trusted to protect basic rights, especially in the South. The 14th Amendment gave the federal government power to enforce civil rights, even over state laws, a major shift caused by the war. 5. It was required for 14th Amendment a condition for former Confederate states to rejoin the Union and regain representation in Congress. That means its very passage was tied to the political reconstruction of the US after the war. In short, the 14th Amendment is not just related to the Civil War, it was a direct legal and political result of it. Without the Civil War, the amendment would not have existed in its current form. It was designed to protect freed slaves from Southern backlash, rebuild the US as a nation with universal citizenship and equal rights, prevent another rebellion by limiting the power of former Confederates, cement the idea that federal law supersedes state laws on civil rights. It's one of the clearest examples of how a constitutional amendment was born directly from the outcome and aftermath of war.
So you can see that when you're messing over the 14th Amendment in any way, because of course this is not this is not the actual 14th Amendment we're reading. So there's more details. But it includes anyone born. Very simple. That's how they resolve the problem of the many different types of people. Americans are not one type of people that come from one specific land mass. That's how it dealt with that problem. You can't make everybody, you can't bring equality to a people if it doesn't reach all its people. You see? So that's what the war was about. Very simple. Anybody whose ancestors goes back to that period and fought in the Civil War and fought for the Union, they're basically trying to reverse the shit you fought for. That's what's going on. You know, and these folks are very clever because they throw a whole lot of shit at the wall to see what sticks. And this is one of them. You know, this is one of them. The folks in the South, the folks that are in MAGA, when you have the nerve to touch the 14th Amendment, you know, it is really an act of war. It really is an act of war. Because it's saying that you're going to take away the very amendment that people fought and died for. Like, what sense would that make? What sense would it make? You see, but I just wanted to give a little background because you're going to see as we go through this that there's more to this thing going on in the Supreme Court when they make these rulings. You know, it's almost like we living in backwards land. Like people are trying to restructure it back to what it was before, take away a lot of these rights, you know, not actually honor in the Supreme Court the idea that victims of discrimination should be righted when they're discriminated against. Even corporations, I don't know if you know this, but corporations are also protected in the 14th Amendment. Yes. Even, you know, groups of people, corporations, individuals. Yes, it is. And it's specifically dealing with discrimination. How you deal with discrimination. Yeah, they have so many cases founded on that, you know, that hold that principle up throughout the history of the country, you know. And that's what makes the United States what it is in the first place. That's what makes it. It wasn't the United States before. You see what I'm saying? Not the Union United States, not the post-Civil War United States, not the one where people were free, you know, free to own property. See, when you start messing with this 14th Amendment, guess who can use it against other people that think, yeah, we could do this. We could take away birth citizenship right. Well, when you take away birth citizenship right, which is an erroneous Supreme Court decision, because you can't really if you follow the law, then why don't we just start taking away everybody's goddamn rights? You see, and make it to where only white men that own land can vote. How about we take it that far? Because that's where it started at. That way, some of you broke asses, MAGA, can also know what it's like. It's not going to be just one group of people that this is going to apply to. It's going to apply to everybody. Everybody. Or nobody at all. Let me see here. Let's go on. Anyway, y'all, I just wanted to open up with that, but let's get into this. There's much more. Let's get back where we started at, and let's listen to some of the panic out there in the world today.
For being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine.
First of all, I hate this lady. I hate how she talks. She sounds so offended. She's talking about the Democrats taking it personal, like the Democrats and the Republicans are the only party in the U.S. Like the Democrats are doing this. No, MAGA people hate your ass, lady. You went back on the MAGA folks' word, okay? You ran on a platform and she's trying to play politics again and play with people's minds. Now look, she really thinks that you all are stupid as hell, you MAGA people. She's got the whip on you. Listen to the disdain for you that she has in her voice. She's saying Democrats, but she really means any of you dumbasses that ever thought we was going to release the Epstein files and believe the shit that we said. You're the goddamn fool. Fall in line like a slave or get this whip and I'm going to talk to you like that. That's really what she's saying. Look.
Asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency.
A dang thing? A dang thing? Where'd she come from? Sound familiar? A dang thing. Sounds like Dixie. Dixieland, the Confederates talking. Dixie, she didn't do a dang thing. Oh my God.
In regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get...
You could judge by how her voice sounds like it's all in a panic, how much these Epstein files really must have in them, because she sounds like she's about to have a heart attack.
The Genius Act signed into law, and because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the east room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of...
Look, she sounds like she's crying about her father who's ill or something and worried about how hard he has it and he's about to leave her life forever. Like, what the hell?
Because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from this story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well,
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There is one thing stopping them. Absolute, utter fear that when people see, especially MAGA, that when MAGA sees what's inside of there of Trump, their heads are going to explode. That's what's stopping her, basically.
in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of
They're basically going to be found out. You know, the gig's up, the gag's up. That's what's going to happen. They're afraid of being found out that they were frauds, essentially. That's why she sounded like she in a panic. Because think about this. She'd been coming out there like this with this attitude, this disdain in her voice from day one. Disdain for who? Did you hear Democrats, in the White House talking to American people like this, talking down to them? You didn't hear that. No, you didn't hear that at all. This lady literally is talking like she had a fight on the diplomat. It's not the tone of a professional, especially not someone on this level. No, she sounds like she just had a fight on the playground with some other girl who's around 11 years old, panicking in front of the teacher, trying to explain what that girl did to her. It's like, whoa.
Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal, and that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on
Why
that.
did you fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them. Dasha.
Oh my God. The Department of Justice did. So you see, they pivot now, right? Now it's not Trump's decision. They don't just do whatever Trump says, how Hitler, right? They don't just do whatever Trump says anymore. Remember when they were all sitting there in the Senate hearings, getting their confirmations and stuff like that? All you heard from each one of them, Kash Patel, Bondi, all of these nuts, they all sat up there and said, well, the president ran on this platform and he won, and that's what he's going to bring to the people. We're following the president's directive. You ask them anything it's like they want you to only ask Trump what they should think. That's how they answered all the questions. And now it's like, no, ask this department and ask them. That's who you should ask about the Epstein files. We don't know nothing about that.
My next guest, as promised, is Maria Farmer, who says Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell sexually assaulted her. So she says she saw Trump at Epstein's.
Now, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, right? However you say her name. Look, this lady actually is, I think she went down for raping one of the girls herself with Epstein, This woman, obviously, everyone knows now because we were talking about it yesterday. I didn't have a chance to go in, but they're planning on bringing her. They try to bring her, or they're acting like they want to bring her to testify in front of Congress. Okay, yeah, we know what that is. We know what that is. Anything to not release the tapes so people can't know. But here's the thing. Who in their right mind thinks that she has any reason to tell people the truth about what she's been doing herself? Why would she do that? So if she's going to come out in front of Congress and snitch on all these people, and what can you give her, Congress? Nothing. You can't give her nothing. Congress can't give her a pardon. Congress can't lessen her sentence. Congress can't do anything. So it's very easy to see that whatever this woman will be doing, she will be looking after her ass. Period. This woman wants out of jail. And if you can't do that for her, she ain't going to do nothing for you. Very simple. Whatever she's doing is for the person that's going to get her ass out of jail. And I mentioned that yesterday. Yes, she's going for a pardon, and Trump would love to give her a pardon. But the plot thickens. But let's listen to some more of this, though. She's a wacko. Look, this lady, I'm going to go in some more. Let me let it play a little.
Office late at night in 1995. At the time, she was 25 years old. Epstein had just hired Farmer, who was an artist, to help him acquire art. Farmer urged the FBI to look at Trump's connections to Epstein twice, in 1996 and again in 2006, which, of course, means Trump's name could very well be in those government files that the administration is refusing to release. Maria Farmer is now suing the government to try to get the unredacted files about the allegations she brought forward about Epstein. President Trump has not been the target of any investigation related to Epstein, nor has he been accused of any criminal wrongdoing in this case. Maria Farmer is out front now for her first.
I mean, they had to say that because Trump is out there trying to sue anybody, you know what I mean? Legacy media. You can best believe these people want to say a whole lot more, but they're not trying to have Trump issue an executive order to shut their station down or revoke or get the FCC to revoke their license. That's what you're playing with right here. You're not playing with freedom of speech. You're listening to people do things only by the book, but not even just by the book, not even work that book at all. They're like really stepping on, really on thin, really just trying not to get harmed, get a fine, So these are real serious times. So when they're bringing these people out and these victims out, Trump hates this. So he's looking for any reason to find an excuse to get them put off the air. You could best believe it.
Interview sharing her story since filing her lawsuit, and she is joined by her attorney, Jennifer Freeman. So thanks very much to both of you. And Maria, I want to give everyone a chance to understand exactly what happened here. I mean, you said that Jeffrey Epstein calls you to come to his office and you go, and then you're sitting there waiting and Donald Trump walks in. What happened?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on, Aaron. I really appreciate it because I need to say up front that I've waited 3 decades to be able to even be heard about this because the government has not held any of the people I reported accountable. And so basically the night before.
So she reported people. And the government didn't hold any of them accountable. The government didn't do a damn thing. So, 14th Amendment, who got their rights? Women didn't even get their rights right away. That's what time of day we're dealing with. So when we look at this stuff, the 14th Amendment is a real actual constitutional law, piece of law that you can reflect on when you look at what these people are doing. That's how you're going to know the real crime and the real offense. If you haven't bothered to read the 14th Amendment, read the background of the 14th Amendment also, you're not going to connect the dots to what you're watching and looking at right here. Basically, these women ain't shit, is what I'm saying. The government treated them like they have no goddamn rights. Flat out. They even flipped it around and threw the only woman in jail. All the men involved, they found a way to throw the woman in jail. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not defending her ass, but because she's a special kind of fucked up. Seriously disturbed. All these people are disturbed. Make no doubt about it. Sociopathic, narcissistic, all of them in a very bad way. So Ghislaine Maxwell is not a normal person. She's a sicko. But in any case, they found a way to get her in jail and let all the dudes walk. What is that? That's some pre-14th Amendment shit. Flat out. Flat out. Who had due process before the 14th Amendment? Not women. And not a whole lot of other people.
Before I went in, before I began working for Epstein, he called me at very late in the evening and asked me to come up to the Helmsley Palace offices. And I didn't even have money for a subway token. It's kind of embarrassing. So I had to go running up there. And so I told Epstein, I'll be up there. It'll probably take me until like 9. He's like, okay. So I get there and I'm waiting. It's dark. Like there's no light on in the offices. And I thought that was really weird. So I'm seated against the wall in the main part of the offices and just waiting for Epstein. And he says, I'll be out in a minute, and he's got the door closed. And then a few minutes later, this man walks in a business suit, kind of tall, imposing. And I immediately was like, that's Donald Trump. What's he doing here? I'm supposed to be working for Epstein and interviewing with him. Why is Donald Trump here? And he walked up about a few feet from me and just stood over me in a very imposing way and looked at me like he was in on some secret or something. It was really weird, like smirking kind of. And I felt threatened, so I made an ugly face. And when I made that ugly face, Epstein walked out from the offices on this side. Trump's standing here, I'm here. And he walks out of his office and he goes, oh, no, no, no. He was laughing at me. And he goes, she's not here for you. Follow me, right? And he escorts him in to this other room. And I always wondered, who was she in there? Was someone in there, right? And I have no way of knowing, nothing. But I felt very intimidated because I had on running shorts and I was vulnerable, sweaty, just a nobody in an office with these two men. That it felt very predatory and uncomfortable. I have to say that when I made that ugly face, he backed off. It wasn't like he was aggressive after that, but he made a really vulgar comment following. And I don't know if it was like, like locker room talk in the 90s, the way men were, but he made a joke to Epstein, oh, I thought she was 16. And I thought that was so strange because at the time my sister she was 15 actually. And I didn't think it was funny, even though it was just a little bit inappropriate, but I thought, I don't know what it was. But anyway, and then they entered that room.
So Epstein says, she's not for you. And then when did Trump make the comment about your age? Again, you were 25 at the time, right?
Yo, you know what? Jean Ray, I think I know you're missing the entire point. You're missing the entire point. The problem with your statement, I thought he did nothing, right? Is this. There's loads of people that came out and said he did things. There's more evidence. There's a person that interviewed Jeffrey Epstein hours and hours. I don't know how many hours he have. It might be in the dozens, of hours of Epstein. Don't quote me on the time, but it's loads of it. Loads of recordings. Now, when you have the most prolific, this man killed himself or he was killed. But in either way, you don't kill yourself or get killed if there's not something there to be discovered. You see what I'm saying? So for you to kind of not get this point, I would just beg you to think about it a little bit more, because it's not about this person, this one person. She's just adding qualifying information to it regarding the thing about the comments about the age. Now, I don't know what type of person you are, but if you see a 30-year-old man and he's generally, making comments like that regularly, you should have a problem with that, especially in the context of this debacle here, keeping secrets, blackmail, espionage. Right, you should think about that. But let me play it a little more. I mean, there's plenty of people that claim and testify to what has gone on.
Right. So I mean, you were a 25-year-old woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I was. But I was
it
a woman,
after Epstein
right.
said that comment that he made the comment about age, or?
Yes. So he first said, "No, she's not here for you," which immediately made me feel weird. Like, was there someone there, right, in that other room? And so
Look at this. These are some of the weirdest comments, because they're really telling. Seamus, I had on running shorts, but wasn't running, paid to say anything. I mean, I don't know what that means, but if you listen to her, she she was brought to a place where suddenly Trump came into the. She's telling you, and if you've ever heard any of these other people, they have a similar stories. They have similar stories. So I don't know what you mean by she had on shorts and she was running. No, they weren't outside. They actually were invited. This was an invitation. This wasn't just a random person that doesn't know anybody and somebody took a whistle. Woo woo. Yeah, yeah, she looks nice, man. And she went running by. That's not what this is. You don't need to change the context.
That's another reason I was nervous. And so as soon as he said that, laughed, I made the face, all that stuff, they started to walk away and did that other room where he's escorting him. He goes, come with me. And he takes Trump into this other room in the offices at 9 o'clock at night. And there's no one else that I know of in these offices, but was someone in that room. So I always wondered what that was about. And
Gene Ray. Gene Ray says many guys facing prison can't handle it. The guy, you been to prison, Gene Ray? Many guys facing prison can't handle it. The guy's always been rich, had everything. Now facing internal lockup, he freaked. Yeah, but that's not what his family says. That's not what his brother says. That's not what other people say. That's not even what Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who's locked up, says. Right? She says he was looking forward to getting out. Right? Now he got out before. Remember the last time he got a slap on the wrist. Right? So in any case, let me let this play. I sometimes I wonder. I think a lot of guys. I don't know if these are guys or if they're just bots or something. I mean, trolls or whatever. If they're just trolling, but a lot of the trolls, they seem to not want to do the easiest thing. And that is, if their theories are correct, then why are you not releasing the files? See, this is where you guys start looking like pedophiles yourselves, like straight up. Because instead of going to the obvious way to clear yourself and to clean the mess up the easiest way by releasing the files and showing that nothing happened at all, you all are like challenging the person who's who's telling you what they experienced, and you're trying to say their experience wasn't real. And then you're saying you don't even want to know what's in the files. That's really what your comments come down to. The context is people want the files released. So when you make these comments, it almost is like you can't deal with that fact that MAGA ran on that platform. MAGA is the one that said there's something there. A lot of people, even me myself, I mean, I don't have any problem with quashing and stepping on and prosecuting pedophile elitists or pedophiles in general, especially those that are said to be part of a deep state. That's what MAGA said. I ain't got no problem with prosecuting them. So what's up with the files? Let's get busy. What happened? See, MAGA just also changed that. Their whole theory about the deep state now has changed. The whole thing about prosecuting and going through files. Okay, so you're not going to go through these files. You don't want Bill Clinton anymore suddenly. You see, this is where it's just doesn't work, but let's hear a little more.
anyway, that comment was made under his breath as they were entering that room.
As they were in
And
that room.
I thought it was rude. I don't care what age I was. Like, it's rude to
Right.
say.
Which, Jennifer, I guess brings me to where you are now. I know you're helping Maria now sue to get the unredacted government files related to her story. What do you expect these will show?
Well, we would really like to.
I mean, I'm cool with the unredacted files, but I don't think it's a replacement for the Epstein files. I don't think it's a replacement at all. And but in any case, let's keep moving.
Senator Durbin.
2 weeks after the Senate confirmed Pam Bondi as Attorney General, she told Fox News the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients was, quote, sitting on my desk right now to review, end of quote. 6 days later, Bondi released binders of documents related to Epstein to MAGA influencers. But the documents she released were already publicly available. The absence of any client list led to a predictable, immense blowback.
So this is the interesting thing. Why is it when they released this part, they still hadn't been saying Obama? It's Obama who wrote these files. So you're going to release files that Obama wrote? So did Obama doctor the phone list? Did Obama, you see what I mean? It only happened when when there was something specific about Trump. You see, when there was actually an item specific to Trump. Then all of a sudden, Obama made it. You see, but Obama, he didn't make the other list or what? He didn't make, it doesn't, it's just ridiculous. But here we find ourselves, people that are out there trying to tear away at the 14th Amendment while they're raping and pillaging and giving $2 trillion tax cut to 80 people, essentially. And they're trying to convince people that it's okay. Let's
Attorney
go.
General Bondi then returned to Fox News, the mothership, and made another startling claim that a whistleblower told her that the FBI withheld thousands of pages of documents, and then she promised the country would see the, quote, full Epstein files. Yet, over the next 4 months, DOJ and FBI were silent on this issue until an unsigned July 7 memorandum was issued, finding that, quote, systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened during the
So did Obama make that up too? Did Obama make up the no incriminating client list exist? How come they didn't just make up an incriminating client list? Well, why not do that? Obama's all powerful. He's part of the deep state, right? According to the MAGA people, he's part of the deep state. And they don't even want to talk about Clinton. See, this is what's so funny about the MAGA people. They don't want to talk about Clinton, but they was pointing him out the entire time. But the reason why they don't want to talk about Clinton anymore is because if they do, they have to go back to release the Epstein files. So now Clinton's okay to these MAGA folk. Clinton's fine. Clinton is not a pedophile anymore, according to them. They don't want to prove it. They want to say it, but they don't want to prove it. They just gave up on Clinton. Fuck it. Leave Clinton alone, man. Clinton's he's a good old guy. Clinton, he didn't do anything. Nobody said Clinton did anything. Why are you calling Clinton that? If I'm to use the same logic as Gene. Gene and Semius in the chat. Y'all crack me up, man.
4 months between Attorney General Bondi's sweeping claims in February and this July 7th memorandum, our Judiciary Committee learned the embarrassing truth. We were contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Essentially, agents were pulled out of their field from their work combating narcotics and violent crime to review this mountain of documents. Other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. President Trump has not helped the situation. Despite his administration continually making promises about transparency on Epstein and the existence of records that they have not produced, he is currently
Senator Durbin.
2 weeks after the Senate confirmed Pam Bondi to review this mountain of documents, other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. President Trump has not helped the situation. Despite his administration continually making promises about transparency on Epstein and the existence of records that they have not produced, he is currently telling the country that it is all a, quote, scam, unquote. Last week, President Trump posted on his personal social media site, and I quote, "My past supporters have bought into this BS, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will," unquote, from President Trump. This is the way the president is talking about his own constituents, who are raising concerns about the very claims President Trump's campaign surrogates and administration officials have repeatedly raised. President Trump and Attorney General Bondi are directly responsible for the confusion and mistrust around Epstein's prosecution. Attorney General Bondi, in particular, owes both Congress and the American people the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, the whole truth and nothing.
All right, tell me this now. How many of y'all in the chat want the Epstein files released? Just straight up. Because I see Ken say both of them. And me, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, I don't see what the point would be in not just doing everybody, not just even both of them, all of them. What are you I mean, what is this? You know, I voted for Kamala Harris, and I'm like, get all of them. What's up with the MAGA people? That's what I'm saying. What is up with the MAGA people? I voted for health care, housing, elder care, child care, access to education, a living fair wage, and I want to get them all. But what's up with the MAGA people? You don't even want nothing. You don't want anything. You don't want anything anymore. You don't want health care. You don't want elder care. You don't want child care. You don't want more access to education, fairer access to education, technical school or university. You don't want fairer housing. You don't want a fairer working wage. All you want is to have an executive order, put the military on the street to look randomly for illegal aliens, and you're not really going after all of them in a comprehensive way. That is really, basically, you're really just doing nothing. You're doing nothing. You're wasting time. You're wasting time because you might catch a few, you might catch some, but you're not solving the problem. And that's the difference. You're not actually solving anything. And in fact, you're not getting a damn thing for your tax dollars, man. I mean, it's really crazy. I would never understand as a citizen of a country why I would pay tax dollars if those tax dollars have more of a benefit to the billionaires than they do me. I would never understand that. I mean, you were shown that they're literally cutting your services that's based on your tax dollars just to give it to billionaires and take away. I mean, I really don't understand it. Why are you a citizen of a country? Why are you even claiming the United States? Because you don't want anything. You know, that just doesn't make any sense. I voted for Kamala Harris. I voted for Biden. I voted for health care, elder care, child care, housing, a fairer working wage, and to get all the pedophiles in the Epstein case. You all are really soft. Pretty much, you're soft on a lot of stuff. You're not even really for comprehensive immigration reform, which doesn't mean randomly walking around on the street. It means going out there and finding them all. What about the ones that are working in the places you never thought of yet? You guys only think of a damn taco stands, parks. What is this? What is this? You don't think you don't think there's not a whole lot of these Republicans. They got nannies from other countries. You don't think there's rich people that have nannies. You don't think there's people that have family members that come from other countries that overstayed their welcome. You don't think that? You don't think there's people that look different than just black and Hispanic people that are illegals? You walk right by half of the illegals just to go find the ones that you have some sort of ethnic beef with. That's not comprehensive unless you're a racist. It's not comprehensive at all. It's just running around in circles. you know it's just running around in circles. Here we go. Don't go anywhere, Ken. It's all good. You can stay, man. Come on.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. We have breaking news. An oversight committee just approved a motion to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell to testify before Congress. It comes as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says he expects to meet with Maxwell in the coming days. Maxwell was convicted of conspiring with and aiding Jeffrey Epstein in his sexual abuse of underage girls and is currently in prison.
Now, this is the only person any victim ever got justice from. Ghislaine Maxwell. And Trump, he's desperate. He's desperate to give her a pardon, basically. Trump is desperate to give her a pardon. Now, he's going to give her a pardon, but something else is going to go along. She's going to go out there and play and run defense if she speaks at all, because she has absolutely no motive or any reason, even for a sane person, to do anything if you're not getting a get out of jail free card. That would be the stupidest thing. What criminal does that? She's in jail for 20 something years, on federal charges. You think she want to stay in jail for the rest of that time? You see, jail's been hard on her. I don't know if you've seen any of the videotapes, but prison has been hard on her. Prison's not necessarily easy on everybody, but it's been hard on her. But there's been no other male, no other male involved that has seen any justice. There's a lot of these men are wealthy. I mean, of course, this is the elite pedophile, classist, racist group. They stick their nose up at everybody else. They stick their nose up at MAGA. You MAGA people are just toys for them, really. I mean, they know how you think and manipulate you. I mean, to the core, to where you don't even want health care, to the core, from your tax dollars, and you will run after it. But this is Ghislaine Maxwell, and she is the only one. And that is true misogyny. That is true misogyny. I mean, these MAGA folks, these Republicans, they cannot run away from misogyny. They're perfectly fine with that outcome. Even the Supreme Court, perfectly fine with that outcome. Perfectly fine. Not surprising at all. Pam Bondi, perfectly fine. She's perfectly fine with that. Kash Patel, yeah, well, he's just trying to save his own ass because he knows the MAGA people are going to come and get his ass. Why? Because of what he looks like. Because of what he looks like. They don't like people that look like him, essentially. So, he's not going to cut it eventually, But all these people stood there and got their whole careers talking about who's in the Epstein files, talking about revealing who's in it. They got their careers off of that one thing. And now they don't want nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. But here's the thing. Luckily, the rich folk, they figured that out. They see Trump's days are over. Trump's days are dying, essentially. This man is not going to be around here for too much longer. He's not going to make it 4 years. And you know what I think? I'm going to make another prediction. I don't think he's going to make it to the midterm elections. I think something else is going on. But before I tell you that, let's listen to one of the reasons why he ain't going to last. He's not going to last because let's examine his health.
Anyway, because they do lie terribly. We will have reduced drug prices by 1,000%, by 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 700, 600, not 30 or 40 or 50.
What the fuck? He's just giving an open auction and shit. Give me 700. Give me 300. Give me 1,100. 1,200. We're gonna reduce it better than it's ever been reduced. You want 2.5%? We're gonna reduce it to that. 100.9%. We're gonna reduce it to that. Then we're gonna multiply that by, this dude just throwing numbers out. He's not even worried about saying one thing that makes any sense at all, because you know what he learned a long time ago? He learned you MAGA fucking people are stupid. And he can talk to you like this and you will believe him. That's what he learned. To the point to where, look at him. He looks like shit. And he's still talking that shit. He doesn't even realize how bad he looks. He looks like he's dying. This man's crumbling before our eyes. But he knows one thing. It worked. It worked before. It worked twice. It worked 3 times. It worked 4 times. It worked. This man is going to play this game. This is his condition. He doesn't even. Let's take a look at his face.
Percent, but numbers the likes of which you've never even dreamed of before. Anyway, because they do lie terribly. We will have reduced drug prices by 1,000%, by 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 700, 600, not 30 or 40 or 50%, but numbers the likes of which you've never even dreamed of before.
I'm sorry, this is crazy. What is he talking about? He doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't have any clue what he's talking about. But they got a plan for him. They got a plan. They got a plan because they know this guy's not going to make it. And listen, he's not going to make it for a lot of reasons. Number one, each and every day, some more shit is coming out about Trump that's in those files because, like I was saying the other day, during the Biden administration, he let journalists come in. They let journalists come in and look at some select files. That's where the picture of that letter that Trump allegedly wrote comes from. But they have tens of thousands of other images, of documents, of items, of evidences. Tens of thousands these journalists got to see. Right now, we only saw one of them. So the whole time, they're coming with this. I mean, MAGA is the one that ran on this. They ran on this. And they spent a year. They spent years, 2 years, 3 years. They were talking about this shit all during Biden's whole candidacy. I mean, Trump never sat the fuck down one time. He was running for office the whole 4 years. Heckling Biden the whole time. I mean, really, they talked about this forever. Now, they're running from it. They don't want nothing to do with the Epstein. But the Epstein files are taking this guy down, and they know it. Thiel and the rest of them, Rupert Murdoch, they know it. And guess what? They're also tired of his ass because he is fucking their industry up too. Excuse my language, y'all. Excuse my language, but I mean, it's real. They're tired of him like that. They hate this guy. They hate his guts. They hate his guts. You see? And somebody's going to have to take the fall for this. You see? And they got a perfect patsy. They had this guy as a patsy the whole time. Why? Because when you're a dude like this that's going around saying, just having a tendency to be around the young girls and make statements about them, minors. When you have that kind of tendency and your best friend was Jeffrey Epstein, They got all the dirt they need on you. They can pull your card any time they want. And that's what Trump went for. You know, he went for that. He got a little bit of gold, but who's to say he's going to walk away with it? It doesn't look like Trump is going to walk away with it. But he has a plan. He has a plan. That's for damn sure. What these people want to do, because they can see Trump is basically not doing well physically, mentally. He's just going to ramble, and more things are going to get chaotic, which is why likely J.D. Vance met with Rupert Murdoch a week before. He may not have even known that the article was coming out, J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance may not even be, I'm just pondering, he may not even be the one that requested the meeting. They may have requested the meeting of him, for him to come. You see, the meeting was undisclosed. It wasn't on his calendar. They didn't publicize it. And nobody knows what happened in that meeting. But we do know, just a day after what happened. We know, because we all witnessed it. What happened the day after is somebody was on Fox. Someone was on Fox News. And that someone is J.D. Vance.
His car and drove through a crowd of 30 people waiting outside. Brad, this
of sick in your soul and your heart that people.
And that
Here we go.
here he was being questioned about his.
Do you? I know you're going to tell me you're going to focus on being vice president right now, but people are wondering if we can accomplish all of this in 4 years, and I want some security in that. Is JD the man to continue the MAGA agenda?
Well, look, man, I really am just not focused on politics. I'm not focused on the midterm elections in 2026, much less the presidential election in 2028. When we get to that point, I'll talk to the president. We'll figure out what we want to do.
Brad, I always love a politician who says he's not focused on politics, but for him to be the unbackable favourite in 2028 is hardly a surprise, I would have thought.
No, it's not surprising. It's kind of the natural successor to the Trump movement. It'll be tough, though, because we do kind of have a seesaw effect in American politics where after you have one president of one party who leaves office, it's a tough task to win election again as that same party. So if J.D. Vance is the 2028 nominee, and he's certainly the front runner at this point, there'll be a lot of momentum going against him after 4 years of Trump.
But I think this is where they go wrong. I don't believe J.D. Vance is looking for 2028. No, they're looking to remove Trump's ass. They're preparing for his removal. And J.D. Vance doesn't have to have an election to become the president if they declare Trump's ass nutty or not fit to be in office. And with half of MAGA, a great number of MAGA, really starting to open up their eyes and see that, wait a second, you could fool me once, you could fool me twice, but to fool me like this on national TV and just go from one day to the next. You saw Kash Patel switch from one day to the next. Kash Patel all of a sudden is talking about, oh, there's nothing there. It was fake. The whole thing was fake. That, not even, if you're a halfway intelligent MAGA person, you know you've been had, basically. You know they're fucking with you. You know that dude just said all that shit. He will say anything to have a job. Kash Patel has little experience. Most of Trump's appointees have little experience. But they got that job for holding that line, for keep talking about it over and over and over. Deep state, pedophile ring, pedophile, Epstein. That's how they got in office. They don't have really much credentials at all. Not the type you're supposed to have on that level. I mean, come on, right? So he's going to tell people anything. But this guy, J.D. Vance, he's likely not looking for 2028 just because of what the guy said. They know you probably ain't going to win no election in 2028. That's not in your favor. That is definitely not in your favor. And it's going to get more heated because now that they've done all these things, They just woke up a whole lot of goddamn people. That's what they did. And so JD Vance knows that. But JD Vance is the best hope. What they're trying to do now is convince people that the MAGA brand can exist without Trump. That's what this is about. And they can use JD Vance to do that. It's the same rich ass people. It's the same rich people. And they don't really give a damn about any pedophiles either. All they care about is, can we keep this show on the road and get rid of the sore eye, the dude that's making things difficult at this point, the guy that's fucking it up for everybody, the guy that's going way too far, that's losing his mind. They're just trying to cut dead weight, and they're setting JD Vance up for that. But I doubt very seriously if it's about the election at all. It looks to me, and it's a prediction, that this is more about they're going to have a coup on Trump. They're going to ask them to sit down. Now, to the next point. Back to Maxwell and their plan. They have a plan. Just hear me out. Their plan is to have Ghislaine speak. She's going to speak. If they give her the opportunity to speak in Congress, she is definitely going to take it. And she's going to run defense for Trump. And she's going to get a pardon from Trump. And they plan on removing Trump, getting him to step down. JD Vance becomes the president, and he's going to pardon Trump. That's what their goddamn plan is. Of course, it would be very scrupulous. Of course, it would violate ethics. But these people don't give a damn about ethics. And think about it. All they need is the Supreme Court to go along with it. That's all they actually need. And that is indeed what they're planning. Check it.
Ghislaine Maxwell has not been...
Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. 1 second. Is it this one?
What you're describing would be a highly unethical and possibly illegal abuse of the presidential pardon power. But let's break it down step by step in terms of constitutional powers, legal implications, and potential consequences. 1. Can Trump pardon Ghislaine Maxwell if re-elected? Yes. Constitutionally, the president has broad pardon power for federal crimes under Article 2, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of federal crimes, sex trafficking of minors, conspiracy, etc., so a presidential pardon would apply. He could issue the pardon unconditionally, and it could not be reversed by anyone, not even a future president. But a self-serving pardon to protect himself could trigger obstruction of justice allegations if part of a quid pro quo, public backlash and political instability, investigation by independent counsels if evidence arises showing the pardon was to hide Trump's own crimes. 2. Could Trump then resign and have JD Vance, his VP, pardon him? Yes, this is theoretically possible under the Nixon precedent. If Trump were re-elected, pardoned Maxwell, then resigned, his vice president, JD Vance, would become president. Vance could then pardon Trump for any federal crimes, and even if Trump hadn't been charged yet, just as Gerald Ford did for Nixon in 1974. But this would not shield Trump from state charges, e.g. New York or Georgia cases, as presidential pardons only apply to federal crimes. Any evidence of coordination or corrupt intent, like doing this to suppress Maxwell's testimony, could trigger legal investigations under obstruction of justice, conspiracy to obstruct, honest services fraud, if tied to official acts for private gain. 3. Could this backfire? Yes, such a move could be challenged in court under the corrupt intent doctrine, especially if the pardon was clearly meant to silence a witness, encourage Congress to appoint a special prosecutor or reopen impeachment inquiries, even retroactively, to block future office holding, spark constitutional crises or public unrest, especially if seen as a self-pardon by proxy. Legal scholars view: while the Constitution gives absolute pardon power, Using it to shield oneself through indirect means, like pardoning a co-conspirator to silence them and then resigning to get a pardon from a loyal VP, could be considered an abuse of power, a conspiracy to obstruct justice, potentially grounds for prosecution under a future administration or independent counsel, especially if state or international crimes are involved. Final thought. Yes, Trump could try this strategy, but doing so would risk turning the pardons themselves into evidence of criminal intent, especially if it looks like an exchange to cover up involvement in Epstein-related crime.
Well, here's the thing. When Trump steps down, he's going to do so because of health reasons. They're going to say, so he's not worried about being charged by a state, because they're going to see him as too sick and old. And he's very old, and they know this already. They know this already. This is, they've thought about this very clearly. It's not an accident. Don't be so naive. These people have a lot more. They're a lot more methodic and planned out, even though they use patsies and pawns to make them seems very simple. I mean, what you're looking at is just the reflection of the billionaire class in the U.S. Trump is. Even though Trump is a disgusting dirt bag, right? They use him. The other ones use him like a pawn. So they have another pawn. That's J.D. Vance. And they didn't mind Trump being old. They didn't mind that at all. They knew he was going to be old. That was even better. Because what are your chances of getting him to stand trial for any crime? They're next to zero. Especially if you go the legal route. They're less than zero. They're going to delay that shit forever, ever, ever, ever. Are you crazy? So, Congress also have to take some action. You think Congress is going to take some action? No, Congress is going to cover up the Epstein files, and they're going to cover this shit up too. Because these Republicans, work for the very people they've been saying they've been trying to stop the whole time. That's what this is about. They work for the deep state. They work for the corruptees, the billionaire class. That's who they work for. They don't work for the people. That's got to be absolutely clear. You see, that's really how this. Now, I know it's a lot of people. It's cool. I know I'm not worried about it. I know there's a lot of people that might be like, well, how can you make this prediction? Yeah, because I'm a thinking man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a thinking man. I'm a rational man. And I also care, and if you just pay attention to the information, you will see it plainly says they can. Trump can step down for health reasons. If he steps down, J.D. Vance will be the president. J.D. Vance can give Trump a pardon. He can in advance. Trump, before he steps down, can give Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon. If you're not saying they can't, then you're not saying nothing, essentially. Because these people do not want to release these Epstein files, because who do you think is going to is going to actually expose the billionaire class? Who do you think is going to expose? It's going to expose their real ties. And it's also going to expose what they think of the American people. Straight up. That's what it's going to expose. You see, so they're never going to release these Epstein files. They're never going to do it. And that's how this thing is going down. So this one is just very simple. If American people want justice, they can get justice. Because all it takes is for them to be thinking people, left or right, whatever you are. Just actually want your freedom. Stop thinking about different parties and start thinking about your freedom. Ask yourself, are you free? You pay taxes. What do you get for them? What do you get? Do you even have a working wage in the U.S.? Americans, after they pay their taxes, and after they pay their taxes, and after they pay their expenses, their bills, and what have you, they're they take home less money in their pockets than the rest of the NATO nations. Yes, they do. After you pay your taxes, after you pay your rent, after you pay your health care, after you pay this and that, all those things, you're taking home less money in your pocket than the other NATO nations. That's what this comes down to. Why is that? It's basically because the ruling class, they see you as slaves. That's really what it is. And the Epstein files are just part of it. They're just part of it. You see, it's just one little piece to that puzzle. And I'll give the MAGA people credit. They were on to something in the beginning, but they're pawns. You know, they don't understand. They were used as pawns. Now that they don't need them anymore, they changing the story. They don't need you anymore. They got what they wanted. They see you as fools, MAGA. If you do not prove that you are not just get along and go along fools for the elite, they're going to treat you like that again. That's what this is about. You see, so, you know, I would really love, I would really love. I mean, I know there's some folks listening. There's some of my favorite people, some of the podcasts I watch. I know some of them are listening, and I know, and I know you're going to start hearing what I just said in some of these other podcasts. And I hope that the right says some of these things, even if you're MAGA and you heard it and you agree with it, go ahead and start telling people. If you're on the left and you understand what I'm talking about, go ahead and start saying it, because there is no one that is prepared to argue against what I just said. And, you know, it's just a special time for Americans. It's just a special time for Americans. Americans need to start standing up for each other. You need to start being rational and keeping it real. Have some humility. Have some humility. Have some humility. When you're attacking the 14th Amendment, that means you have no humility. You have no humility for the lives, the people that died fighting. Nothing. You see what I'm saying? And if you know anything about the 14th Amendment, you know how wrong it is to pick and peel away with it at all. If you start picking and peeling away with it for one, and you get the Supreme Court to back it up a little bit, it's on. It's on for everybody. All of the 14th Amendment. All of it. Because all it takes is for people to vote to appoint some more judges that will get rid of all of it. Or get some people to come out and vote to appoint some judges that will uphold it and declare those rulings from those 6 Supreme Court justices as erroneous. This is what has to take place for there to even be a United States after this. Straight up. It have to be a third, 2/3 of the Congress to replace those corrupt judges that took that money and have come with these ideological, politically motivated, erroneous judgments, hypocritical judgments that really are just going to peel away at the fabric of the whole society, of the whole law, because they're erroneous. That's what erroneous rulings do. You see? So, yeah, let's see how.
Yes, I can break this down. What you're raising is a growing concern for many legal scholars and political observers.
Now, listen, where I was going at before I got cut off again, I got to prepare these videos better. I guess it's the length of them is having some issues on my mobile. But check this out. So where I was at, I was about to land. And this is going back to these erroneous judges. They're not just making one thing about birthright. It didn't just start with the birthright thing, trying to challenge it, which makes no sense to, the 14th Amendment gives that right to the Fed. It's the Fed that decides it. It's birthright, the federal government, right? It gave that power. So to give it back to the states is overturning the damn 14th Amendment. But in any case, it's not just the 14th Amendment. They were doing this, and the same judges were doing this in Biden's term. See, all of the things that they've allowed Trump to do, they found new ways to do it, right? And guess what? A lot of the things that they found new ways to do, those are things you could go right back to Biden's administration and say, well, why did you stop Biden? How come you didn't say that when Biden was in office talking about student debt relief? And now, because they have made these arguments about the executive branch, that defies all the other shit that they told Biden he couldn't do. Yes, they shot down the farmers, but the American Act for farmers that were discriminated against. Loads of farmers got billions of dollars from taxpayers around the country, from every state. That money went to support, some of that money went to support the farm industry. But when the government started issuing that money out to states, certain states were discriminating against black farmers and other farmers. Yes. You have the same reason why the 14th Amendment was made, to stop the discrimination. And you should really read the 14th Amendment because it talks about that, right? The same things that it was designed to do to stop the discrimination from happening is the same thing when Biden went to court with the American Act to say, hey, these farmers were discriminated against. You gave money to everybody else, but these ones you said no to, right? Because they were discriminated on the state level, which is what the Fed is supposed to correct, 14th Amendment, right? These same judges said it's unconstitutional. The same judges. They made all kinds of claims, and it's not just one thing that went before Biden. How could it be unconstitutional when it's about the 14th Amendment? That can't be. The federal government is supposed to correct state crimes of discrimination. That's the 14th Amendment. That's part of it. You see, so it didn't just start with this thing that they're doing now with Trump to get the Marines out on the street. It didn't start there. It started in the last term. You see, same judges, the same judges, erroneous decisions. So without 3/4 of the Congress understanding that you need to get rid of these Supreme Court justices that are corrupt and also politically biased, which they're not supposed to be, until you do some reform on the Supreme Court, there's no justice coming. There's no change coming. Because they're just going to do the same erroneous decisions again and again and again. And hey, here's the thing. If a Democrat becomes the president, this Supreme Court basically gave them carte blanche not to listen to anybody. That's what has happened. So you can't even really have a country that way. You see, what they have done was resort to extremist rulings that can't last. They can't last. So there's a lot of change. Without 3/4 of is it the Congress or is it the Senate 3/4? I think it's the Congress 3/4. Then the Senate is just a majority vote. If you can't get those two things, right? You can't impeach. You can't impeach the judges. Fuck Trump. You can't impeach the judges. It's not just about who the president is. It's about all branches of government. So for those of y'all, I'm sorry for the little breaks. I have that from time to time because I'm rocking from my mobile, right? But go back to the beginning of the video and take a listen to some of the things I outlined. One of the things before I'm out, one of the things I outlined is the Republicans plan, what they plan on doing. They're going to get rid of Trump. Trump's not going to make it. It's my prediction. Trump is not going to make it to the midterm elections. They already got a plan to get rid of him. They tired of his ass. He's dead weight. They're going to push J.D. Vance into the pocket. That's what they want to do. And they're not going to wait for an election to do it. They might talk in legacy media like it got something to do with election. No, they're not going to wait for that. They're about to get rid of Trump. J.D. Vance is going to take over. He doesn't need an election to be the president. You have a sick president right now. They're about to crack down on him. The same people that put him in office are about the rich boys. They're about the same people being protected in the Epstein files. They're about to find them a new patsy. And their new patsy is J.D. Vance. And he's happy to be a patsy. He's happy to be a patsy. That's how it's going down. Trump is going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. He's going to go sick. J.D. Vance is going to become president, and he's going to pardon Trump. Will it protect Trump from state crimes? No, but Trump's an old fuck. He ain't going to stand for no trial nowhere. He's too sick and senile now. And then they're going to delay. So he going to be damn near, 85 before he even gets to a court? And by then he'll be so sick. Man, this man is probably not even going to be alive to see a trial. Come on. So there's a lot of other work to do. They have their plan. And if I'm wrong, I don't mind being wrong. It's just a thought. You see what I'm saying? I would like to be corrected. I would like to be wrong about this. I would like to be wrong. But I don't think I am. But on that note, y'all, I appreciate everybody coming through. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm still getting this thing worked out, but I'm learning every day about the technical things, about just doing this on my phone because I have a little bit more freedom. I don't like using my laptop, and I don't like using my desktop because I do some other things on that. But I appreciate the time with everybody. Have a great time. Hey, and the chat and the trolls, you don't have to agree with me. I'm cool with that. Don't worry about that. That's no big deal to me. I disagree with people every day. You know what I'm saying? But I have health care because I don't live in the U.S. I'm an American citizen, but I have universal health care. I have a union job. My kids get paid to go to school with my tax money. You see what I'm saying? Elder care. 2 years sick leave. 5 weeks paid leave from work a year. And a lot of other benefits for my tax dollars. And I take home more of my money after I pay for all of that. I take home more of my money and put it in my pocket than the average American takes home to theirs. That's what I'm worried about. Facts. You see what I'm saying? The real reality of it. So I don't plan on you all agreeing. I'm out here educating a lot of these people. You see what I mean? Give it some time. Ponder it a little bit, what I'm saying, before you disagree so fast. You see what I mean? Give it a chance, man. Give it a chance. On that note, I'm out. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to leave you with your superstar hero real quick. We can take a listen to her. Let's listen to her defend her daddy. She's really emotional, by the way. Very emotional.
Being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it
And they ain't do a damn thing. And you came up to my daddy and you said my daddy wasn't the greatest man on earth. How dare you say that about my daddy? I don't know who told you that. My dad, Mama.
They didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement.
And we prepared the best excuse ever in the history of the United States of America. That excuse was prepared better with more time. It took more seriously, more patriotism went into it. Just, God damn.
Voices in the
Empty
Republican
words.
Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions. And they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they...
And what we concluded is, y'all, we ain't putting that shit out. We can't put that shit out, yo. We concluded we better come up with an excuse real fast. Obama did it. Obama did it. It's Obama. They wrote all that shit up, y'all. All that stuff I was saying was real. It was fake, y'all. It was fake. Don't trust me. I'm sorry I did that. Peace, y'all.
They want more. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct. Then I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear. But